Okay, so here we are live into the markets. It's approaching 9:30. You can see we've had quite the downslope of the day. After yesterday, we had Jerome Powell speak and really take us downhill. Let's go into a broader frame here. You can see from here that this was yesterday's price action. What a zigzag mess the PM session was yesterday, and then just a massive drop through yesterday's close, and then we've just kind of been chopping sideways all night. Really just a drop and chop scenario from a broader sense, and then we've been chopping and chopping, and then sideways action, and then off the open we broke down to the low side. We'll see if that sticks. I still think that even with all of this, I still think there's potentially some good trading to be had here in this environment. You've got a nice downslope off the open. We're now approaching that almost hour-long opening range from top to bottom here. Here was the open, and we missed this during our presentation. But this was the opening bar. We chopped sideways for a bit. And then here you've got, what do we have here? We've got a Delta Doji right here. And this is also called a shooter bar. And that just increases your odds that you're at a top. I've got a structure level. I've got a 3-bar roll. I've got responsive selling at the top. Let her rip. That would have been a nice trade. I actually probably wouldn't have taken this one, though, since it's so close to the open. I typically don't like to take these kinds of trades because they're a little wild. So we'll see what we've got here. What I'm ultimately looking for, as you can obviously see, this is, to anybody watching from any kind of a chart can tell, this is a sell-off here in the first hour. Let's just go to the day chart real quick and set the tone. We've had, here was, I believe, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So here we are on a Friday. This was the week's range, and we are just continuing to plummet lower. 4,300 here is kind of going to be our trigger point for any kind of an upside action, any kind of an upside move, if that's at all possible. But we'll see as we come through to the middle of this wick. We'll see what happens. But it looks like we're just Geronimo plunging downward at the moment. And so before I'm able to even get a trade off, I'm going to need quite the pullback here into my EMA cloud, up to VWAP even almost, to even maybe take an attempt at a short. And we'll see what that structure looks like. But let's flip over to here. Let's see. Okay, so you got all the volume going off right here, and that kind of started to assemble right through here. Let's go back to our order flow chart. So yeah, there's nothing real fancy about it, nothing too in-depth to read through. You've got you've got this rotation, so we can go through and see where the price or the buyers flipped over into sellers. We can easily take a look at that. Reading through the context of the order flow, you can really see that happen, and it's especially relevant when you're at one of your structure levels or a confluence of structure levels that you like. When I think of that, I think of a VWAP, and I think of my structure levels or an EMA cloud. Any one of those three are typically levels that I will consider taking a trade on in the right conditions, the right time, with the right setup. And this one was a beautiful one, but the time frame on it was just a little bit outside the scope of what I like to take. Maybe I would have taken a shot on a single contract during live hours, but had I been trading during the live hours at that moment, maybe I would have, but it's okay. So what I want to see happen is some sort of move back to the upside. So before I'm able to even look at the trade, we got a couple of volume gaps through here, nothing there, and pretty much just straight straight shot down. So I'll let this run for a little bit, and so what I will say is right now I've got on a one of my ATM strategies that I've got on is what do I have on? I've got my 2 contract 15 by 15 with a runner. So all that really means is that when I go to place an order, I'll just show you what that, if I were to place a long order right now, let's say I was to do it right here at market price, I would be setting up a bracket order that would look like this. There would be one contract that would go to a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio, and then another contract that would go to a 2-to-1. So in a blended trade, this would be a like a 1.5-to-1 risk-reward ratio off 2 contracts. Okay, so this is just this is where patience pays off. All right, so we're either accelerating more to the downside, or this is a blow-off bottom. And only time will tell. When the bar closes, we can make that distinction. But you've got, and you can just watch the POC on this from our terminology lesson earlier, that the POC went from the top to the mid, started shifting to the bottom. That was this is why we wait till bars close and we assess the next bar. This one came and popped back up a little bit, probably sucked some traders in, and then ripped back down to the low side. So this is why you have to take it in context. When you have markets like this that are just screaming to the downside, I tend to just be hands off until there is a state of change, which there is not. And you know, a good question that I've typically received is, well, why don't you just jump in on the short side? Because this is, the move is mid-motion, and I'm just chasing at this point. And for any of you that have traded for any length of time, you know that when you chase, you tend to get your head taken off via some sort of a pullback. This just does look like just a straight shot down. But so what I ultimately, let me just show you what I would do or what I always do in these scenarios is I'll just take a simple trend line and I'll just draw it out, and I'll make adjustments as bars close and what takes place. But what I'm looking for is so we got 1, 2, 3 touches there essentially. What I'm looking for is price to have a violent break above here. We don't have that yet. What we do have is, and what you can definitely see through these bars, is negative 2481, and you had a delta doji here, just happened to be the timing of the bar, negative 575, 452, 836. Selling is ignited right here with this bar, and then it accelerates to the downside, kind of. You can kind of see that if you were to change time frames. I'm sure you could find one that was accelerating to the downside, and then now you've got just a continuation to the downside. So for those of you that watch my market recap, this was one of the 2 scenarios I said was likely to take place today. We were either going to absorb some of this downward movement from the earlier in the week and pop back up to this trend line, or the Jerome Powell hangover was going to be too much, and we would just take another straight shot down and potentially touch this 52-51 level, structure level that I have right there. And it looks like that's where we're headed. But as you see, you can notice it looks like the selling is starting to fade a little bit. And I don't say that because of delta. I say that because of the size of the bars. So you have a big wide range on this bar, a big wide range on this bar, a little compression here, a little hesitation before the move to the downside, more selling on this bar. And then you have this length of this bar was 42.82. to 42.72. So you got a 10-point S&P move in one 5-minute bar here. All right, and then it starts to shrink as we compress. These bars are compressing with a lot of selling imbalance in them. And so now there's simply just not much to do here other than to wait for that violent break, if it even happens at all. Okay, so initially you're starting to see price bounce up, but we're only, you know, 2/3 of the way through a bar. There's plenty of time left on that bar to completely change its state as well. Taking out this last bar's high would be a good place to start if we could do that. Little momentum. Okay. I like it so far. Let's see if we can close it. Let's see if this bar will close. Good. Delta's building. You can watch Delta building in real time. Now we're up over 1,000. That's a nice swing here. So this could be a blow off bottom here. I still want to see a little bit more of a move. Now, so I'm obviously I'm going to play the contra trend here. If there's a rotation, I'll play it. If one thing to always keep in mind on these is that typically, and this is on a 5-minute bar, it's true on most of these types of moves, when you have just a rip your face off kind of a move to the downside like this is in the opening hour, that first bar up is not always that first green bar after all of this is usually kind of a fake out. So this will chop for a little bit. I still want to see a violent move. What I'd really like to see is this 42.76 get taken out, and possibly even this 42.78 get taken out with a little bit more of a violent move than that. One bar is good. It's a good start. But you see how had I gotten all gung-ho on this violent break, it wasn't really even that violent. It was a nice transition over. But what you're seeing now is exactly what happens a lot of the times, is that first green bar is then met with another round of sell-offs. So you're watching the buyers attempt to make a move here. You're watching buyers attempt to step in here. And it's going to take a violent move. And you can tell it's going to take a violent move because look at the range on this EMA cloud. Look at it's 42.87 at the top end to 42.74 on the bottom end. So that's a 42.87 to 42.74. That's a 13-point move. And this needs to start compressing. And once this starts to compress, and we got some green bars moving up, then I can potentially look for an entry gap to jump into. Let's just make some adjustments here. This trend line. Yes, the trend line has been broken, but that's not an absolute trigger. That is a guide, just as all of these different indicators are guides in piecing together a narrative to justify an entry into the market. So again, we have a rundown. We have what looks to be a blow-off bottom. We have almost a 3,000 contract reversal here. that popped us up and broke a little bit of this trend line, but I want to see, typically what I like to do is to go to like another bar's high, and this is really subjective, so there really isn't a whole lot of science involved behind this, but it's really subjective because I like to see a good hard push up. I don't want to see a few ticks above the fake out breakout scenario, the fake rollover scenario, or just a pause, a momentary pause in the downtrend. So again, we're going to wait till this bar closes. This is a great, if this indeed is the bottom, which I'm never going to try to pick the bottom because I've failed so many times at attempting to pick the bottom that I don't do it anymore. So if this is essentially a bottom, this is a classical looking, I'll call it a key bar for a rollover, and it can happen. So you got a couple things going for you on this bar. You've got a nice healthy move to the upside that broke a trend line. Okay, so there's check mark number one, 42.66 to 42.75. That's a 9-point bar. It's a pretty big bar on a 5-minute candle. And then you got your sequential decline here at the bottom, and you've got your POC in the bottom quarter. Okay, so this is a classical looking rollover bar. However, take a look at the next bar over and it kind of negates this bar. So you had really just essentially so far you've had just a fake pop up and then retrace. So we're still stuck in this downtrend. And what I'm looking for is that rollover to play this thing back up. If we can get a nice rollover, then you can play this thing back up to the VWAP or any one of these highs along the way. And that's what I'll be looking for if we do indeed get it. We're coming up to that 10 o'clock hour here in the next 20 minutes. That's typically where we see some good action at that 10 o'clock hour, Central Standard Time, that is, 10 o'clock hour. 9 o'clock hour, 9:30. 10 o'clock hour is some prime time for some energetic moves, we'll call it. And as you see, I just remain patient. Nothing to do here. Let's go flip back over to that daily chart. We are 52. We are 16 S&P points away from hitting our swing low to swing high range that I'll call it. This is just a technique that I use to frame the latest swing low to swing high. I just use some blue levels here to just mark that off. It helps me. So let's see. Really just a continuation, just a straight shot down. A lot of times what will happen after a opening range sell-off like this is you can get that quick, I call it a V-shape opening range, where this entire move down here is the fake down breakdown, and then it'll boomerang back around. But you got to get those triggers in place. So a nice hard shove above here, and then a retest of this, and then I'll go long. That's the play. If that happens, great. If it doesn't, no worries. As you can see, I have taken a total of 0 trades today for $0. I've risked $0 of my capital. I have not been harmed in any way, and it's all good. And the more patient you are, the better you will preserve your capital, and the better the entries that you'll have, the more patience you have. It looks like the volatility is dying off here a little bit. We're getting, it's just, you can just tell the bars are moving slower. There isn't as much snap as there were in these downtrend bars. But nice thing is, here's we're building a nice base to go sideways. If this thing is going to roll around, there will be a nice shelf to rotate back to, and it looks like now is not that moment in time as we carry on down. Let's rotate through some time frames here on my EMA cloud. I've got a 10-minute cloud and a 5-minute cloud that I will rotate through. So let's just go through a 15 and see what that looks like. And for those of you who are who love the shorts, who love to take the short side of trades, this the EMA cloud on a 5-minute is a really good scalping tool. For those of you that are scalpers, I do it every so often. I'll scalp, but it's not traditionally what I'm looking for. So there's a lot of people that in a downtrend like this, they'll take a look at this bar right here and they'll say, okay, that's a nice pullback into my cloud. I'm going to take a short, and then you can bounce that, and that would have been a very successful trade. You could have taken, 5, 6, 7 points and gotten out real quick as a bounce up into that EMA cloud right here, and then take that short side to the downside. Obviously, would have been a great trade. I don't typically tend to when we're in a mid move like this. I don't like to get in. But that's me. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll just get into a Q&A session. There isn't really a whole lot that I can analyze here for you that hasn't already been analyzed. Essentially, we're just waiting for a break, and we haven't gotten any sort of a hard push to the upside. And we're at that 950 bar. Okay, so let's just give it to the end of this bar, and let's see how this one does. If we can somehow get some momentum and pop up. I'm highly skeptical though, because I haven't seen any sort of a game-changing move yet.